spoilers ahead for Moon Knight. Hi guys, welcome to the Script Department. I'm Brad and I'm here with Caleb and we're going to discuss the fourth episode of Moon Knight. But before we get stuck in, if you haven't done already, check out our website, thescriptdepartment.net, for all our latest projects we've been up to, including script reading from our global network of screenwriters. Also, you can follow us on social media. You can hit the links in the description below and subscribe to our podcast. Just search the Script Department wherever you get your podcasts for daily episodes. So, Caleb, fourth episode now of Moon Knight. We're well over halfway. What did you think?
I actually really enjoyed this one, more than I thought I would. Because three was all right. It kind of fell back into a lot of the tropes. I feel like it felt very Marvel. Not to say that it was bad, but it just kind of was a different way than the first two episodes went. And this one kind of brought me back to the feeling that I had in the first two episodes, where it was kind of like, oh, I don't know where this is going, and especially the end, which we can probably get into. But
yeah, it's pretty special.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, very special. I agree. I think when I was talking to Marcus last week, it felt like it had gone into like a weird space in the Marvel universe. So it got a little bit of the beat 'em up stuff. It had got a little bit of the comedy, but it was almost ticking quite a few boxes. And I think we said that it felt like a mid-season episode, so it was a little bit slow. But when you've only got 6, it's a dangerous thing to try and rest on your laurels in the middle of such a short, potentially limited series. That's not confirmed yet. But I think it was a lot more unique in the way that the first one was. There was something Indiana Jones or The Mummy or Tomb Raider about it. It had got that mystery of, you weren't quite sure what was going on, but you wanted to find out. It wasn't just like a boring mystery in the background. You're like, oh yeah, they're gonna crack into this. You got the cool opening scene where you find a little bit more that, there's a whole wall of gods. It's like, Khonshu's not the only one to have broken these, the god rules. And that made me think quite a lot. I was like, oh, is this like some sort of like dictatorial, like god, like really bad god union where they just...
It's a problem and just constantly.
Yeah. And it was a quick start straight into the credits, straight after that little scene of the little stone Khonshu. And then I think it went almost like Weekend at Bernie's or the Swiss Army Man, just for a little brief moment where she's trying to get Mark down that hill. She's like, come on, Mark, and he's completely unconscious and they roll down the hill together. But Layla was pretty badass in this first opening section, because I think they were in danger of making her into leaning on the Marvel sort of tropes of femme fatale and things like that, and they hadn't really built her character as much as I'd hoped, but they opened strong with her on this one, like really strong.
Yeah. I mean, even throughout too, like it does feel very centric to her, especially with whenever I was watching through. I watched the first 2 episodes and then the third at a separate time, but to get caught up. But they, like, whenever the Ethan Hawke is telling her, like, oh, does she know the truth? Like throughout, like maybe last episode, I was like, did I miss something? What's the truth? So yeah, it was cool to get that, like, in this episode and really feel like now she has a purpose, and tying their meeting back in too to a character moment was really cool.
I think the telling the secret this episode was really important. If they'd have dragged that on too much, it could have got annoying. It's like, well, what is it? Come on, just tell us what it is.
Or we would have figured it out. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's even still up in the air what it is, but at least we know what they're talking about now, and it does. It's a nice bit of conflict between the characters, and the fact that she was told that by the villain. It always compromises them a little bit, because they've given them a hand, and it's quite a smart move by him and obviously by the writers. It's quite interesting how they did that, and obviously now there's a team up between Layla and Stephen, or as we're now going to call them, Staler. That is now the their
Yeah,
collective name.
stay Yep. Which
Yeah, I
was
mean
that sequence was great. It definitely, like, I heard you guys mention The Mummy, that
yeah,
this has the feel of The Mummy, which some of my favorite movies just growing up, probably watched them countless times. And yeah, this episode really felt like it dug into that. Like even the mummy fight with Layla,
yes.
um yeah, no, it's and them going through the tomb, going down, like, yeah, it definitely had a lot of the mummy vibe.
Yeah, I mean she got some great action. I mean the first bit was the the flares. She takes out a load of people with a couple of flares, and it was like it's pretty
In a,
James Bondy. But when
yeah, yeah,
I rewound it and watched it back. I was like, "Wow, that was cool! What happened?" Because it was all in the dark, and
yeah, it was very dark.
it's a 50 caliber like machine gun mounted on like that thing had cut a Land Rover in half. So that was
Yeah, yeah.
mounted on the back of the thing, and she like drops a flare onto. I think it's like 2 crates of like 50 caliber
Yeah,
bullets,
it's like
and
those things
a
would
few little
be
a
yeah.
few little sparks go off. But I mean, that would have just killed anyone in like a mile.
Right.
It would have been just shooting out these enormous bullets everywhere. But I mean, it was
Yeah,
cool. She took them out, and
yeah,
like you said, the mummy fight was good because they sold it really well that she was dead, like for a split second, because it was the
yeah.
scene where it pulls her back, and that is the
Mm,
classic scene. Oh, they're
yeah,
dead. They're dead. That person isn't here anymore. They're dead. But
yeah.
they really nailed that,
Yeah,
and the fight was fantastic. I thought they really sort of
yeah,
sold that in.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
do you
it's
think that they intentionally, like they have to acknowledge that the mummy is an influence on this, right? Like,
without a doubt. I mean, I'd be
right?
surprised if they didn't say something. You know, a
Yeah.
little Easter egg for Mummy fans. But it's I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it's all in there. It's all
yeah.
in there. I mean, how do you feel about their sort of depiction of Egyptian culture and things like that? Because I think you know it's always a dangerous ground when it's
Yeah.
you know they're tomb raiding basically, and it's like
Yeah.
it's quite jolly. So what do you make of the way they've dealt with that?
Yeah, it's one of those concepts that's like, yeah, there's no way to really like spin this a good way. So you have to dance it, like dance that line. So yeah, no, it's definitely I think that they've probably found a good spot of respecting, like, of like Steven being a not like a tomb raider, but a um archaeologist, is he?
Yeah,
Whatever
he's sort of
whatever
like
he's
almost,
classified as.
you know, maybe he's like a junior archaeologist, his trainee,
Yeah, yeah.
but he seems to
And
know
so like,
so much, but he's not. He doesn't seem to go out and do stuff.
yeah. But I like, I don't know if we want to get into the end real quick, but like definitely in the end, there's a plot point where we see they are tipping their hat to everything that's come before the
Mm.
characters of Steven and the tomb raiding characters of like Indiana Jones and
Yeah,
Lara Croft, like all of these stories that have come before. So they definitely know like where this genre
mm.
lies and what came before, what they're doing. So I really enjoyed that moment. That
Mm.
was a really fun moment. But
Yeah. They've certainly gone for sort of like the because I mean the Mummy's like originally a horror film, right? And then it became
yeah, yeah,
kind of like a sci-fi slash fantasy horror film.
yeah.
But they made it pretty horrific. I mean, where the what are they called? Those things? The is it a Heka? The series of guards that were left to maintain protect the pharaoh. I think it was a Heka.
Mm,
Um, and
yeah, I
one of
don't
those
know.
things comes in. It guts a guy live when they're in the
Yeah,
room.
yeah, yeah,
It is really horrific. It's really
yeah,
scary. So, and I think that the tonal shift of that was quite a bold move, like because they'd
yeah,
gone from you know relatively indestructible, you know Moon Knight. He can't really be hurt after you find out, and then the
yeah,
next two or
yeah,
three episodes. But he
And
Now
that's not
he's
very interesting for a long time. So
exactly. So now
yeah, so we gotta strip it
he's
away.
lost Khonshu. He's
Yeah.
very vulnerable, and while he's vulnerable, they've thrown him into this, quite a horrific environment. And he's as
Mm,
Stephen. He's not Mark straight
yeah.
away. He's as Stephen. And I
Yeah.
think it was an interesting choice to do that. Um, how did you feel about them making like him a vulnerable character very, very quickly?
Like just in this episode, like,
Well, they've sort of
or
they've made
just taking away Khonshu.
so they kind of built him up to be indestructible, then immediately made him
Yeah.
vulnerable and Stephen.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would have probably hated it if they hadn't done that because like and maybe that's why episode 3 to me was a little more on the Marvel like stereotypical side, because he is like action hero, killing everyone, indestructible.
Mm.
So yeah, like this felt a lot more intimate, and yeah, stripping that away and making him a vulnerable character
Mm.
uh is where the if they're trying to do horror or like thriller beats, yeah, that wouldn't have worked with
Mm.
Moon Knight.
Yeah, I mean
Because
yeah.
yeah.
There's the classic thing in Marvel that anyone can come back at any time, like at any point, and
Well,
it
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly, yeah.
But this
I was
actually
waiting
felt
for
like there
him to
was some
break it.
danger. Yes, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
it did feel like some danger here, and I really enjoyed that there was a
yeah.
vulnerability and that he could, you know, he could actually die. And
Hmm.
if we jump ahead to we're already in spoilers, so if we jump ahead like a little bit, we know that he might die. Like he gets shot twice in the
Yeah, yeah.
chest. Like that isn't it's not
Yeah.
survivable. He's not just going to wake up
No.
on a stretcher in the back of a Land Cruiser and they're like, "We got you out, man!" Like that
Yeah.
guy's pretty dead in that affected situation. Is that how you feel it might have gone? That they killed him and there might be another
That's
way to come back.
that was what like so that happened. Like he gets shot. I was watching it right before this, like because it's morning here. So but so I was trying to get it in real quick, um but yeah, so he gets shot, and I checked the time and how much time was left, because I was like, where's this, like, is this almost done?
Mm.
And then it like cuts to the jungle scene of like the old adventure movie, and I was like,
Mm.
okay, where is this going now? And then the whole white room uh sequence is like, just I don't know, I loved it because it was just such a twist of like, I have no idea where this is going, and maybe he's dead, maybe he's in some sort of afterlife or purgatory. um and yeah, just it kind of went a little bonkers, like where it's which is again what the first two episode or the first episode especially did really well, was like, you don't really know where this is going, and you're just kind of along for the ride. But
Yeah, I really like that they've taken it in that direction. It got really trippy. I mean, even before that, there were some great decisions to make it all of a sudden, just like with a quick thing to make it feel a lot bigger. Like they're searching for Amit's previous avatar, and then they find out it was Alexander the Great,
yeah, yeah.
Alexander the Conqueror, which makes sense that so that it then rewrites history. All of a sudden, that whole movement was Amit trying to purge the world of the evil, and and she was doing it. I mean, it's really fascinating how they've sort of. I mean, I quite like that they drew that in there, because obviously that is a little bit of um, Middle Eastern
Yeah.
and sort of history that is, it's well known, and the fact it's written in Macedonian as well, and it's like, he all of a
Mm.
sudden realizes what's happening, and he's excited. Like I like seeing that Steven's excited about like these weird statues and stuff. I mean, do you think it's a good
Yeah.
decision to try and rewrite human history while you're getting these invulnerable gods into a story?
I think it's really fun. Yeah, no, that's yeah, I really dig it, because to me it shows a level of care, like of they've thought through this whole story very carefully, and weaved it into now human history. Um, and yeah, just it really feels like a level of care given to it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean they've certainly given it scale, and they've spent a fair
Yeah.
bit of money on it by the look of things.
Yeah.
But before we move into the trippy asylum, hospital, purgatory, wherever he ends up, um, the storyline about the dad. So they
Yeah.
really,
Yeah, that's a big
really,
plot point.
yeah, they really sold that in, and they really sort of added more to Layla's character. So you knew a bit more about her and her father, which you kind of knew before, but they gave him a name and they gave her a place. And the fact that Harrow explained, we didn't see the whole conversation, but we saw him explain that, Mark was part of the team that were there to upset the dig that her dad was on, because he believed that Egyptian gods walked the earth, and he was right. He was right. He'd found out about the Avatar, and he was digging to try and uncover. But then he kind of explains that Mark was part of the team and leaves it like that. And then she goes to question him, and Stephen gives Mark the body, which is how we end up with Mark being shot because he attacks Harrow's guys. But
Very poor decision.
yeah, with like, what has he got? It's got an axe or
An
something, and
axe,
they've
yeah.
got like AK-47s. It's like, come on, dude,
Yeah.
you don't have the suit
Yeah.
anymore. But yeah, the decision from Harrow to just let her go and ask him, and I thought I thought his response was a little bit vague, too vague.
Mhm.
Like, he didn't
Yeah.
necessarily give her enough. He pled his innocence. I mean, I'm not sure it was great. I watched that scene twice as well, because it was like, what
Yeah.
was he assassinating the dad, or
Yeah. Yeah.
what was the thing? But the idea was they were there to disrupt the dig, I
Okay.
think, and because
Okay.
he then said
His partner.
his partner got greedy, so he was
Mhm.
obviously looting things, and he killed everyone. But he was part of the team that did it, and we got a little bit of information. It was on the police database or something, that it was a special forces, and it was, I found that slightly confusing. I'm hoping they'll tidy that up. It's gone on for quite a few episodes now, and
Yeah.
there'll be a reason they're holding it back. It's so they can keep the
Yeah.
conflict between the characters, and now she's kissed Stephen.
Yeah.
And even the weirdness of that, it was like, oh, you smell
Yeah.
like Mark, but
Yeah.
it's the same body, and it's like this. It's quite a unique thing
Yeah.
of, she fancies another personality in her husband's body.
Yeah.
It's like, did she cheat on him or not? I'm not so
Yeah.
sure. I
No,
don't know.
I'm not gonna touch that.
Yeah, but then she finds out
Um,
that the husband is responsible in the death of her father.
yeah.
Like, it's so I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I hope they try and do something with it a bit quicker, because it feels like it's dragging a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will say, yeah, I really like the overall beat of that because of how Mark has trouble telling her. And so like the line that I really liked is whenever she realizes that their meeting wasn't a coincidence. It was just because he wanted to tell her. And
Yeah.
so like that was a really strong moment, and a really strong line.
Yeah, that bit of dialogue's great because it fills in a huge hole in their past. No,
Yeah, yeah,
you know for a
exactly.
fact that he turned up there to tell her and then fell in love with her,
Yeah.
and then their entire relationship's been based on a lie. And he would have been like in pain about that the whole time, but obviously he's
Yeah,
lying to the
yeah.
woman that he married, and it's just, yeah, I like that.
And I think that's what's interesting about this show is like is their choice of where to pick the story up, because
Mm.
obviously you're keeping the audience in mind of okay, you want the audience to feel like the character, and they need to of Steven. We need to learn as Steven learns for the most part. But then you start to like you choose your moments of like, okay, when does like Mark come in, and when do we reveal stuff that Mark as the character knows that the
Mm.
audience finds, or when they find out. And that's like a fun game to play from the writing standpoint. And
Mm.
I think that to me is what is intriguing about has been intriguing about the show. Um, and so like when Layla's character comes in, you're kind of like, who is this person? Why does she know Mark? And so
Mm.
we're putting the pieces together. Um, and throughout these episodes, we've done that. But now that one line has like just changed everything for us and Layla. And so that's why to me is just such a great bit of writing that they really set up and paid off really well. So
Absolutely, yeah. There's certainty and complexity to the structure of the overall show, even though it
mhm.
seems quite route one at times. Like there's definitely they've got quite a few plates spinning, like
Yeah.
narratively, like how and you know
Yeah.
the problem with that is they can fall off if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So, but so far there hasn't been
Yeah.
any like huge missteps, and
Yeah.
I guess I've been burnt before with shows
Yeah,
where I'm like,
true.
oh my
Yeah.
god, this is amazing, and then oh, it didn't pay off. So
Yeah,
I guess I'm apprehensive to go. This is the best show
yeah.
ever, but it
Yeah.
looks like it's pretty damn good, especially with
Yeah.
the finale of the show. So he gets shot. Like
Yeah.
that's a definite fatal wound. Even the first one, he gets
Twice.
shot
Yeah,
in
yeah.
that near the heart,
Yeah.
and everyone's just staring, and Mark's dying, and he just
Yep.
shoots him again in the chest, and like that is he just falls back, and he has his face is drained of anything really, and you can see the life slipping away from him, and I think he falls
Mhm.
in a shallow pool, and
Yeah.
then he
Yeah.
slips into some part of his
Weird.
entry, yeah, and it's like a
Yeah.
bottomless pool with a moon at the bottom. It's
Yeah.
just that was quite creepy, and you
Yeah.
could see he was descending into something,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden we're on some weird old TV show about Doctor what's his name, Doctor
Uh,
Stephen
it's
Graham, and it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
this is that's not him, but it's like an Indiana Jones version of him on a 4x3 like
Yeah.
VHS
Yeah, yeah.
version of a TV show, and then we're into this crazy hospital environment. What did you think when that happens?
I thought it was such a weird like because they've already kind of done that. Like, okay, question the reality and question like, are we experiencing like madness from this person and delusions basically, which is like what I really loved the placement of it at the
Hmm.
like the last like 10 minutes 15 minutes of this episode. After all of that fun stuff has happened, now it's like gonna flip that switch and be like, but question everything. Obviously we know that if that wouldn't be a great payoff if it was true. So they don't stay on that very long, but there's some great moments of like um of pulling in everything
Mhm.
that we've seen and kind of throwing it in this hospital. Um
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say like it's the is like a rug pull,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it felt much like I don't know, like Shutter Island or 12 Monkeys or One Flew
Yeah.
Over the Cuckoo's Nest, that kind of thing. Or even have you seen the OA
Uh
with Britt
I
Marling?
I've only watched a couple episodes years ago, so I don't remember anything about
So
it.
they have these they're in an experiment where they're forced into near death experiences.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Um, for the spoilers for the OA, and they have these experiences when they're in there, and one of them is
Mm,
based in a psych ward. So when
mm.
they die, they go to a psych ward and experience this really trippy thing, and I was like, oh my god, this feels a little bit like that. There's something,
Yeah.
and in the environment, there's something dead about what's happening. And here there was
Mm,
something really surreal about what we're
yeah.
experiencing. A lot of the people, all of the people around them were characters from the
Yeah.
show. So the orderlies, the patients, the doctors, they were all characters on the show, and half of them were dead. Half of those
Yeah.
guys had met
Yeah.
their end and they died, and it was like, oh wow, what is
Yeah.
this? And Layla's there as well, and Harrow's his
Yeah.
doctor. Like, I was a bit blown
Yeah.
away by it because I like stuff like this in a show, and I wanted it, but I
Mhm.
didn't expect it to come there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought it'd be saved by a god of some sort, which might be what's happening here, but it was
Yeah.
very trippy, and I thought they did a great job of keeping you in the same place as Stephen and Mark
Mm.
in this environment. You know as much as they do. And I thought it was very smart. There was an interesting point where he finds Stephen, again, I didn't expect that. So
Yeah,
they've
yeah,
met.
yeah.
What did you think when they met face to face for the first time?
I think up until that point, you're still kind of like, okay, there's the possibility that he's just been in this ward the whole time. And once that point hits, I think then it's like, no, this is something other dimensional, or whatever. Like it's on another plane. Because then the next moment, so they find each other, and then the next moment is they're trying to leave,
Mm.
and the door opens, and it's is it a hippo?
Yeah, it's a hippo.
A hippo god. And I died laughing. I
It's
love
funny.
that image of, does it say like "come on, let's go" or something like
I think
that? Like
it's just in a
it's like,
really like cheery female voice. Just goes hi.
yeah. Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah. That's what. Yeah.
it's
Yeah. No.
amazing.
It's so much fun. And that's what I like. Again, what I've loved about this show is like it has some great humor in it. And some great dark humor too.
Yeah,
But there was one moment in the office, whenever he's speaking to, is Harrow, is he still named Harrow
I don't think we get
in
his
that
name, but it's
universe?
definitely
Okay,
still him. It's definitely
his doctor.
yeah, he
Yeah. Oh
doesn't
yeah, yeah,
he's not aware that he's Harrow, or it doesn't
yeah,
seem that he
yeah.
is, but it's definitely him. Obviously, it's Ethan
So
Hawke.
like he looks over from where he's sitting, and there's the painting or the picture to the
Mm.
right of him. And is that, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that where he first jumps to in the first episode after he wakes up, like the mountain town?
Yes, in the Alps.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah, yeah.
think it is, and I think that
Which is
scene
awesome.
needs
Yeah.
a few. I've watched it once, and I was trying to pick them all out, but there's a few Easter eggs. There's the uh, Carphonic casks and the little Egyptian ornaments, and there's a couple of other things in there. I think the pen is featured, so like there's all of these different things that are featured throughout, and they've really, that would have been fun to write. You can see the writers
Right.
like, oh right, Easter egg heaven.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that
so
was
I
great.
really like that. But yeah, no, just the surrealism of that whole scene was a lot of fun, given the rest of the episode. Like we already got our adventure mummy episode, and then just to have that on the end, leading into, like, now I can't wait for episode 5. Like this is
Absolutely.
probably the first one for me that I was like, I want to know what happens next, like right away.
Yeah, totally.
Why didn't I wait? So yeah.
Totally, and like, I think there's been a relative cliffhanger in every episode, but this is a huge cliffhanger, and with the dawn of streaming, I mean, Disney have done it a fair bit. The weekly release with the dawn of streaming, we've kind of missed out on those big cliffhangers and having to wait a week. And here we go, we've got one, and it's like
Yeah,
because they've
yeah,
only just
exactly.
started to
Yeah.
do these
It's nice.
weekly releases. Like most stuff is dropped in a hole,
Yeah.
and it's a great feeling. I mean, I want to watch it now. Like I'm going to be ready,
Yeah, yeah.
really excited to see when it comes out. But I think the tonal side of it was really interesting as well, because it got really dark.
Mhm. Yeah.
The mummy gutting people. The really intense scene between Harrow and Layla. Like her performance there was brilliant. Like
Yeah. Yeah. No,
she's
she's been
really,
great this whole
yeah.
season, I think.
And that was dark, and then obviously Mark gets shot in the chest and got this link to Alexander the Great, and it's all
Yeah.
really heady and serious and a bit. And then when we get into the hospital, it starts to get a bit trippy, and then it's funny. Just their
Yeah.
reaction when they meet one another and when they're going through the corridors, and the whole thing swaying like a ship, and when they see
Mhm.
the hippo, like just their reaction, because you see it, they stare at it. He
Yeah.
goes, "Hey," and then there's a beat, and they just start screaming and like manically, and it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
funny. So I think that choice was quite interesting, how they sort of changed that tone, because I think that can go wrong. That's something that can go wrong. Um,
Like it was definitely, as I was watching this episode, it was something that I was thinking about too, because I was like, man, this is kind of it was whenever it got to the really dark stuff, like the whenever she gets pulled away and stuff. I was thinking how it got really like it rode the line of horror, and like it switches between those so quickly, um that it was like it was almost a little weird, and like it had switched too much. But then I was thinking back to the influences of, let's say, the Mummy, and the Mummy does that. Like the Mummy is like pretty scary. Like it's still fun scary, but there's it still rides that line where it switches, and like something scary happens, but then someone quips on it, and it's hilarious. And so like I think that they're definitely, even to that point of the tone, are definitely sticking in line with Indiana Jones and
Yeah,
the Mummy and all these adventure flicks. So
totally. I mean, there was definitely like Temple of Doom going on here,
yeah,
like, and totally the Mummy. It felt
yeah,
like Imhotep was going to come around the corner or
yeah.
something. Anuk Salamun, you know. It's just-
Do you think that maybe they found the Book of the Dead and that's how they're bringing them back?
Yes, that's what's happened. Sam Raimi is going to have
Yeah.
directed the final episode, and we're going to get someone reading the Book of the Dead. That's it. Yeah, that's. I mean, it's got a lot of. I know it's weird. There's only 2 episodes left because it feels like there's so much more of the
Right.
story to tell.
Yeah.
Particularly the Stephen / Mark's personalities. So in the comics, I haven't read the comics. I've dipped into them in the run up to this show premiering because I was like, "What is this Moon Knight? I've not heard of it before."
Yeah.
And there's quite a few differences. Like the different Moon Knight characters are different characters. They're not just like a skin that goes on top of Stephen or Mark. They've actually got their own personalities when they turn into them, and he has a lot of them. I think he's got 7 or 6 or something. So in this, they've teased in this third person, right? Because they were both, did you kill those guys? In the previous episode, did you kill those guys? I think he woke up and was like, Stephen, what did you do? And I was like, I thought it was you. And it's like, there's a third guy in there. And when they find each other, there's a third sarcophagus rattling away, and there's someone trying to get out. They see a third one, and it's like, that's the third guy. He's in there. And he sounds pretty vicious as well. Like if you took out all those guys, and even Mark was shocked. But do you know much about the rest of the lore surrounding Moon Knight, and are you expecting any more people to come out of this of Oscar Isaac?
So I'm a pretty big comic book reader. Little less on Marvel, but I remember when a couple years ago, whenever like there was a run of Moon Knight that kind of really went big. A lot of people really liked it. I don't know. I really don't know much about the history of how long he's been around, and um, so yeah, that's I've kind of intentionally, whenever they announced this, I was like, okay, well, I'll keep the blind spot, because since I haven't dug into it, I'll just go into the show blind and enjoy what I can. So yeah, I knew there was multiple personalities and that he was kind of like a vigilante, but other than that, nothing. So
yeah, I got burnt with The Walking Dead. I read so many of those things, like cover to cover, the whole, like I think it was hundreds and hundreds, and then I was like, they're selling it. One of the main characters is there for season after season. I'm like, they're gonna die. And
exactly.
You know it already. So I've dipped into Moon Knight. I dipped into the run where they went into there's one where they go into the a mental home, but he's actually there, and he's switching in between his personalities to try and get out, and they have to work together as a whole, kind of thing. And it was like I think it was supposed to be quite a big thing that happens to him, but this isn't that. This feels like a tribute to that. This is purgatory. Like this guy got shot like that, and then ended up here. This would be quite a weird space. And the go on.
Oh no, mine's completely different. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to go on to the hippo
Oh yeah.
that they find at the end, because that's a god, right? You can tell it's a
Hmm.
god because it's so big and it's got a weird head, and it's in the god outfit. So
Yeah.
I googled it. I was like, "What's the hippo Egyptian god of antiquity?" And
Nice.
apparently, the name is Terawet, and it's the goddess of birth and fertility. So I they're probably going to stick to that. They wouldn't go so
Yeah.
visual on a deity like that if they weren't going to
Right.
stick to the same one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's. I wonder thematically how that. Yeah,
I don't know. Well, the other one was
it's interesting.
the god of love and music, like, which was definitely an old girlfriend.
Yeah.
That was cool. Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, no, I think what like to like with the like to bring it back to the comics, like what Marvel does really well is they very seldomly like will just completely remake a storyline or a run of comics. Like they'll have influence, but they won't like it's not like an adaptation of The Walking Dead, where it's the same plot points and um, like that's I think that's what's really fun is like you can read the comics, watch the show, and there's gonna be the influence from the thing that you love, if you love them. There might be bad ones, but a good example is Vision. So the Vision
mm,
run that WandaVision is based on was around the same time of whenever I remember hearing about Moon Knight, and it was just called Vision. Um, and that thing sold like crazy because it was about Vision, who I think he was a politician,
mm,
and I want to say, and he creates his own family, and then they like accidentally murder people, and so like it kind of spins out of control. But like that's I don't know how much of that is accurate, but I
mm,
just remember that that was like a really exciting run of comics that influenced WandaVision,
mm.
and seeing that kind of that timeline of things is just really fun to see the comics getting their nods, and that there's great stories in comics too, and not just like I say I don't read a lot of Marvel, but that's because there's so much out there, but um, there's great writing in a lot of comics, and they're
Mm.
doing a lot of things that are influencing the film industry. And obviously I saw a still from Thor, the Thor trailer that was
That
from the
looks great.
comic. Yeah, so there's like the wide shot, they're standing on a cliff, and I think it was a comic writer screen grabbed that, and then screen grabbed the still from the
Nice.
comic that it's based off of, and was just like, see, this is like it's not just the movies, like it's coming from somewhere. So but
Yeah, yeah. I think there's such a rich heritage, right? There's so much stuff. I mean, they have to reset them every now and again, right?
yeah,
Like the new
that's which is
52 and all that kind of stuff. Like they have to start again
yeah,
because it's
it's
just
a little fatiguing.
there's too much going on. So
Yeah,
with this very rich background, I guess if they're not going to do it exactly, they're still going to pay tribute to it, which feels like what they're doing.
exactly. Yeah,
The writers of Moon Knight are doing too. So they would have delved into that treasure trove of stories
yeah,
and almost certainly adapted it or even just copied it to bring it to screen, which
yeah.
is great because I mean they're comic book movies and TV shows. Like you want them to feel like a comic book feels. Do you know? You know?
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
Thor Love and Thunder looks like a comic book, and just that
Yeah.
trailer with Guns N' Roses on it, and it's just Taika Waititi just loved doing that. He
Right,
loved
yeah,
doing it. Like
yeah,
he would have had so much fun.
yeah.
And yeah, I've seen some chatter online of whether um, the God Killer from Thor and Thunder might turn up in Moon Knight. Uh,
Oh, really?
yeah, so
Yeah.
is it Gore, the God Killer? What's that? I can't remember his name actually. I think I've got that wrong. But the one that Josh Brolin's playing, I believe.
Josh Brolin's
Oh
playing
no,
another
no,
one?
no, not Josh Brolin. I'm going to Google this so I don't get it wrong. Um, Oh God, who is it? Of course, it's not Josh Brolin. Couldn't bring back Thanos again.
Christian Bale, Gore
Christian
the God
Bale.
Butcher.
Gore the God Butcher. That's it. And there's questions whether he'll turn up in this. I think it's pretty tenuous that you're going to get Christian Bale in a TV show. I mean, but then we've got Oscar Isaacs and Ethan Hawke in it, so why not? But there are, because it's coming to the end and Love and Thunder's just come out. There's a lot of rumors about any crossovers and stuff because the plan is possibly for Moon Knight to get into further MCU.
Yeah. I was wondering about how he fits into the broader MCU. It'll be that, I think that'll be interesting to see if they do bring him in.
Yeah, it's been quite standalone. At this point, there's been no references to the event or Thanos or the blip or any of that. So it's interesting to see where they're going to go with it. Do you have any last thoughts?
No, I hope. I would love to see more of this trippy world. I love that type of stuff. So like, I'm all for that. If they keep going in the next episodes for him to get back to the real world or whatever, I'm along for the ride. So this was a really strong episode.
I agree. I love where they've gone with it, and I hope we get a bit more of it. I hope they don't just solve the asylum mystery immediately. But I'd expect to get at least half an episode more of that kind of stuff because it's so much fun. And I'm really looking forward to where it goes, like this and the penultimate and the final episode, because it's all up in the air right now. It could go anywhere, and I love that. I'm really happy about that. So, Caleb, thanks very much, dudes. Pleasure as always. And thanks so much for listening, guys. Check out our website, thescriptdepartment.net, for more conversations like this. Check out our social media. The links are in the description below. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for The Script Department and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. And you can let us know what you think in the comments. And thanks very much, everyone.